Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Threadlings of Filmmaking Production Diary. I'm your host Miguel Ortega, and this is my co-host Tran Ma.
Hello, everyone.
So we are talking about the making of an animated short film in Unreal Engine 5.3. Hey everybody, let's see who we got. We got Ruben. Hey. Uh, Netbug. I still got to send you that sticker, which I do have. Ted C from Colorado. We were just in Colorado a few months ago, so we love it there. We went to Casa Bonita, and it was amazing. And this one I'm going to mispronounce. Siohi. Siohi? Siohi. And this one, forget it.
Yeah.
Uh, but hello. And hello, Jelly. See, this is an easy one.
Hello,
Hello,
Jelly.
Jelly. Already has a hello in the name, so I like it. So, hi, everybody. So, this week we got a ton of work done. Tran will kick it off. So, this is the bedroom for our main antagonist, you could say. One of the main antagonists, his name is Zort. And he's like the chosen Messiah character, and this is his bedroom. Now, the thing to keep in mind right away is that these guys are 6 inches tall. So if you look at this, the first thing you're going to say is the scale of the fire is off. It's not off. It's a miniature world. So it's actually the correct scale considering
How big they are.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Trent, you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah. So the entrance, let's turn around, would be around here. You see the shadow kind of pops. It loses detail there. All right. I don't know what to do about that. There. Oops. I don't know if you noticed that, Miguel, but like the shadows popping. Hold on. I have to figure what's going on here. As you can see, like the light's coming in and the shadow's really complex. And then the moment I turn away from the light, it's like, oh, I don't need to work hard anymore. And it goes away. No, there we are. See, it goes away. Anyway, we'll just try to ignore that. That's the entrance here, which I think looks pretty cool. It's assembled from pieces that were already built. I went in and I retextured them. I also had to make some new ones, like these pieces here, to fill in these gaps. Um, but yeah, I also did a thing where we started using more metallic fabric, and you can kind of see up here. It kind of reads like metallic scales
You
at
got to zoom in.
distance.
You got to zoom in on that.
Zoom is like what's zoom?
Yeah, like that.
But it's like this. But from a distance, it reads really.
Metallic and evil, and it's just basically sparkly fabric.
Yeah, it's just sparkly fabric, and this has a lot more sparkly fabric. It's actually very sparkly here, and there's a lot of red crystal emblem, like kind of symbolism in his room for like the pieces that are custom. That's why we have this arch in here in particular. It's a red crystal with fire.
He's the only threadling born of a red crystal. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's special. This one I haven't modified any of the textures yet. Um,
Can't even really tell, honestly.
yeah, but I want to bring the metallic fabric in. You can see how like this one doesn't have anything. It's quite matte. And then these pieces that do, like these are the new pieces I had to make work in the room. They look much more interesting. And then that's, the room is empty. So what I'm working on is on the bed. Miguel had this idea here, like we just thought the doorways looked cooler. Like his bedroom is like so different from Cot's bedroom, but we were just gonna leave this door kind of open. So the moment that Cot enters the room, our main heroes, they'll kind of see something like this type of view. It's very grand. It's very it's supposed to be very creepy. You guys saw me working on this window last week, at least the modeling of it. I finished it. It's also textured, and went through a little bit of like look dev and stuff like that. And then that's what we have here. And then this piece here is just mega scans. And again, a lot of these pieces I was able to reuse, and then new pieces I had to make. And I did have to come in and retexture some of these, but they were very quick. And I'll come back to this guy later. So yeah, that's the room. I'll show you like just, I hate that the shadow is popping. I think maybe because
Why are they popping?
I'm streaming, it's like, I think it just doesn't think it's important. Like that I'm not looking at the light source or something. I don't know. It won't pop when I'm facing the window, but when I turn away like this, it's doing it.
Zoom in.
It's gonna pop. Okay. I need
It's
to-
that geometry is that geometry I think I know what it is. Is that nanite?
It's probably nanite.
Disable the nanite. It's triangulating.
You mean on this one?
Yeah.
That's actually maybe a good idea. I've only been using it one time.
So double click it.
Just so you guys could see what the mesh looks like. It's all modeled.
So disable nanite. It's right there.
It like changed something. Let me save. It is a nanite. No longer does that. Great. That window is super heavy though. Every geometry in the scene is like ridiculously heavy. But yeah, this is the room. I am working on the bed. His bed is going to be right in the middle, on top of this carpet. Originally, we did have other ideas, but we decided Zor sleeps in the middle of the room. Like most bedrooms, you don't like place the bed in the middle, but he's like more opulent, and he's a main character in his colony, right? Like he's so important. So we're like, gonna put him in sleeping in the center.
I would sleep in the center of a room like that if I could.
So yeah, and then we're thinking of like adding on this wall here like a portrait of himself. So like he has like a giant portrait of himself in this room, and that just like makes it so much more opulent and like excessive, and that's the feeling that we want. Dream House Tour Metal Edition. Well, to me, this is like, yeah, would I actually want to stay in a place like that? Of course. Oh, wow, look at that. Let's let this load. That's Cotton Mayo's bedroom.
So you can see stylistically they could not be more different. This one is mid-century fabric. The other one is Slayer Hell Awaits album,
Yeah,
Rain and Blood.
yeah,
This one is Sesame Street mid-century.
yeah. So such a different type of tone,
Yeah.
and much more like warm and inviting. It says a lot more about the characters. I know I showed this a few times, but I'm actually not trying to show the thing, but yeah, that's their room. Much more cozy and much smaller. And then Zort's room, much more big and opulent. And just for those who maybe are tuning in first time, this is that their Conmayos are main characters. Zort is also a very important character, and that was his room. This is Conmayo's room. They share a room. And then I'll also show, just for fun, because I haven't shown it in a bit, the big main set. And then a lot of these are not really lit for much yet, right? So it's like the classroom. This is the first set I built. It has a very different feeling. That's the hallway right outside the classroom.
The amazing thing is I feel like we are pretty much at the end of building sets. We still have the exterior of what this whole place looks like, which is going to be a pain in the ass. But a lot of that is more the physical tree or whatever the hell we decide this is. The idea is that they live in the roots of a tree. So it's a cedar tree. But we don't know what the hell that tree looks like from the outside yet.
Yeah. Um, that's the classroom door over here. And then that's the exterior of Zort's bedroom. So that's like right outside and how everything else looks in this world. And in his room is just really red. And he's special. He gets like a special hallway or whatever this is, like his entrance down. Um, again, some close-ups of his door. This is an area where it's very dark, kind of intentionally. It's meant to look creepier because that will be the vibe. And this is what I call the rotunda, this section. And here's another angle of it. So like our hallway, I'm actually confused where I'm at. Oh, here it is. So that's like our main hall over here. And again, that leads to the classroom. And around here, these don't really lead to anything. They're just, it's actually just a closed space. Like if I zoom out, we'll break the illusion. That that's the outside. And these glowing blocks, they're just outside the window.
It
Just to,
so does not look as cool from the outside.
no, this is just like makes things
So funny.
just lights crap, basically. And it's just meant to suggest that maybe it leads to other hallways are much bigger. I don't know where I'm at. I'm actually lost. But that is our set. It's also chugging. That's why I'm having trouble. But yeah, that's our main set. It has multiple tiers. You can see it's not very fleshed out up here. It looks kind of cool though, like sad, cool. But here's a few other tiers that are not fleshed out. I feel like I would just flesh out those areas based on the shot, or else you're just gonna be working on this thing forever. And it would be better just to do it shot by shot basis. There's other things that we want to add in here, like in the middle here, we want to add kind of like a symbol, a crystal, another red crystal symbol. Like we really want it to be dominant. I also though worry like we don't have any blue crystals because all these guys are made out of blue crystals in their bodies, and then they worship the red crystal.
But that's kind of the point, though, right? Is that they're looking not outside because he's one of them, but they've been looking outside for this savior instead of looking at the people that they had within, which Kot represents. Like
yeah,
the Kot is our little hero, and he's the underdog, and so is Mayo, and they're one is a stutterer, and the other one is kind of on the spectrum, a little more odd, and they end up becoming the ones that save the day. Um, so and no one paid attention to them because they were all paying attention to the red crystal.
yeah, that's true. So yeah, these are massive sets.
They're massive.
Yeah, there's a lot. But it feels nice to be very close to done. And again, that's Sort's bedroom. So you could see like just the vibe and how it changes. Yeah, and I don't know, like as far as like the main room, there's things that we talked about to give it more scale. Like this fire is probably the first sign of scale. I'm not sure what we would do the hall. Like we did talk about like I know it's super bright because there's a lot of lights.
So in terms of scale, just to be clear, it's the fact that right now, if you look at that, you could think that that's life size, but it is not life size. Remember, they're little 6 inch little dudes. So we want to put things in here that break that scale, or not break it, but remind you that this is not a 6 foot a human world. That this is a 6 inch threadling world.
Yeah.
So like for example, putting big leaves somewhere. Like there's a potted plant, but it's got a giant rose in it. And it's not a giant rose; it's a regular sized rose, but to them it's giant. Uh, Having vines or something creeping in from the outside, stuff like that that would sell. That's the scale that we're trying to sell.
Yeah. For me, like I have concerns about things like vines because I don't know, that could just be like a tree root, right? So I don't know if that completely sells scale, like, but a giant leaf would. You're like, oh, that leaf's huge, right? Or like giant, like fruit, like you see something that you know, like a cherry.
Netbook says perhaps hallway benches. We definitely want to put benches in there, but that's not going to solve the scale issue. That's going to just fill it in, which this definitely needs that level of props. It needs, so we have like mops and we have all that kind of silly stuff that's going to give it a lived in vibe. That's 100%. We need that. We need little hanging out and drinking coffee areas. We need all of that stuff.
Hang out,
Uh,
drinking coffee.
yeah, totally. Like little living room type areas where people would gather. Um, so I want all of
Super
that
dark.
stuff in there, but what we're talking about is more reminding you always that this is a miniature world. And even though this looks big right now, that they are little.
Yeah. So just scale, like you said. But yeah, I could definitely use more stuff. I've been staring at it for a long time. So when I look at it, it doesn't really bother me, right? Like maybe the way it would bother someone else. I don't know why this is floor is all the way up here. Let me just fix that. But that's it. That's what I have. Let's pull this down. Yeah, that's it. I don't know. You want to show your stuff?
Go back to the Zort bedroom. I don't think you milked it enough.
Okay, hold
I
on.
want to see it again.
Trying to fix this floating floor.
Where did that come from?
Well, it's supposed to be there. It just got pulled up really high for some reason.
Yeah, so I love the scene in Bug's Life where the rain was the apocalypse, a sense of scale. I totally agree. They're not that small though. An ant would still be like the size of, what do you think, like their foot? So they are bigger than an ant by
I
quite a
don't.
bit.
I mean, they're 6 inches. An ant is still.
They would still crush an ant.
Yeah, they could. It would just be like to us. The ant is like the size of our hand. Oh my god! Can you imagine an ant that big? I would
Yeah,
freak
for
out.
them it's like a turtle basically. An ant would be like a pet shop turtle.
Yeah,
Yeah, not the tiny little ones with the palm tree, but the other one.
yeah.
So yeah, so this is Zort's bedroom. So the bed will go in the center. It'll be a
Right here.
round bed, very Austin Powers, and then
And then we want to have a painting of him.
a painting or a tapestry. I want it to be a tapestry. I think that would be much more interesting and just make it really really corny and self-absorbed. But you know, we were talking about this like when we went to New York a few years ago. We went to what was his name? J.P. Morgan's house, which they had an exhibit on Frankenstein there, so we had to go. And it's a beautiful museum, and it used to be his house, and it's now a museum, and it has a bunch of artwork. And J.P. Morgan was obviously a huge banker, but he was a huge art collector, and he ended up blowing all his money. When he died, everyone thought that he was leaving this huge fortune, and when they realized is he basically blew all his money on art and just collecting artwork. So he didn't have as much money in terms of liquid cash. It was all in the art. Beautiful house. And when we went into his bedroom, which is an amazing bedroom,
Yeah,
there
that
was
place was amazing.
there was a painting of himself in on top of the chimney, right? And you know, I thought nothing of it. I thought that's really cool and whatever, look around, whatever. And but when you really think about it, imagine hiring someone to paint a giant painting of yourself and then hanging it in your living room. Imagine how people would think of that nowadays if they walked into your house and there's a huge painting of yourself in the living room, like you'd be like, geez, you're pretty in love with yourself, huh?
Yeah, there's a sense of ego in that. And then
Yeah.
that's what we want to say about this room, right? So like it's more mysterious, it's darker, it's gloomier. It's all about Zort. It's completely all red. It's his room. And he has a giant like paint, well, the equivalent to a giant painting of himself. But Miguel's totally right. Like if I walked into someone's house and I just saw a huge painting of themselves right in the living room, I'd be like, wow, you have a lot of money. I don't know. You really like yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So pretty funny.
Yeah. And this is caught. He looks really weird though, because he is actually kind of squished. But I just wanted to see the sense of scale.
Yeah, so there still needs to be a few more props in this bedroom,
But it's
but
going to
we do
be,
want it to be pretty empty.
yeah, more spare. So it'll be a bed. I want to create some like staffs, like that they look like priest staffs.
Yeah.
Could probably use some like a red rug coming down. Although I'm not really sure about that rug because I feel like there's something in this window shape, like how bright that looks. It's going to become dark like
I
this
agree with that. I don't think they necessarily have to come. The rug doesn't have to come out from there. It could come down from,
down here.
yeah, from wherever. Yeah.
Yeah, I could build rugs. There's some floating, weird floating stuff. I don't think anyone noticed.
This is the most kid bashed of all the rooms. All the other things were very meticulously planned by Tran. This is your more kid bashed room. You would agree?
Yeah, it's very kit bash, but I had enough pieces to kit bash.
Yeah.
And then some custom
Zoom
pieces.
into that window. I love that design. So you built a lot of that during the stream.
Yeah, I did. Um,
So you could go back a few streams and see
yeah.
how that was put together. So that's the red crystal, and obviously it has like some religious undertones in there.
So I just turned out the bloom.
Yeah,
But yeah, you can see. And then this is
pretty cool.
just textured, like the glass itself. Most of the work went into, again, just the actual construction of the frame, which is really super complex. It's not even, I didn't even texture this. I don't
So-
know if it matters.
Now,
It just has weird materials on it that kind of work. And
yeah,
it's so backlit. I don't think it will give me that much advantage to actually texture that, but you can kind of see how complex that was built. And then the glass is super simple. It's just polyplanes. And then you can see the texture on that. And all it does is emit light. So it's very flat. And none of this is modeled or anything like that. And the material is just an emissive material that just, again, emits light. I can turn the bloom back on. And that's how I kind of want to see the window. Like, I feel like without it, it feels more gamey. But it would blow out a bit like that. And he'd walk in.
yeah.
And Zort has fire 24 hours in his
Of course he would.
room.
I would have that same room. You know, the fact that it's sparse and it's such a big room and the bed is in the middle is a total, you know, uh, flex, right? Like if you could put your bed in the middle and you still have a lot of space, that just means you're
Yeah.
badass.
No, it means you have like a lot of space in your house.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So,
So I could show what I've been working on if you want.
yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
So I got to finally jump back into some 3D stuff, thank the Lord, because I've been so busy on fixing some of the script stuff. So, um, what does the outside world look like? I wanted this thing to feel. So we're still figuring out the placement, but the idea is that everything outside is like cactus, right? So we want the outside world to be like a desert, and they're just completely living and picking berries in this cactus field that we want to look almost like coral reef, right? So just going in and trying to get all of this stuff to look a little bit better. Well, not even look better, just building this stuff. And then we had some help as well. So we had a David Eisenstadt from Gnomon helped us, and he built these little guys, which are really cool.
Yeah, they're super cool.
And then I built a bunch of the other ones, and I could show you guys like some of the workflows for those. But I'm
I like that one.
continuing. Yeah, I'm continuing my love for modeler, even though there's a lot of things I don't like about it, and there's many things I do like about it.
You gave me crap for spinning too fast. You're spinning too fast.
Am I spinning too fast? Okay.
Yeah, you got to slow down. That's that's better.
But and then these are like the unhatched versions, so there's like seeds here that will eventually become those cactus. So you can see they would open up right there. And then we have,
Oh, is that the moth back there?
yeah, he's just chilling back there. We have these guys here, which are like the more towers.
It feels very alien.
But it's all based off of real cactus. Then there's a few that we got off the internet that actually don't hold up very well. So we were looking at this one that now looks like someone dropped Mentos. So we need to fix that.
Yeah, a lot of it's like in the texturing, which is not so bad because at least you don't have to remodel anything.
Yeah,
Um,
but you could see also like
and those are all the land is Gaia, right?
it's all Gaia and it's all shaded using that Easy Mapper shader with the vertex color breaking this up. So it holds up pretty well if you get close to it. Like it has a ton of resolution because it's all just tiling and breaking up.
It's having trouble keeping up with the way you're panning, just so you know.
Okay.
Can you go back to like the camera cotton mail? That one's cool. Like I like that, even though it's not complete. I like that too.
Let me set this to be more.
You know, when you have it more like a square, I know we don't generally use square aspect ratio.
But you like it?
I do. It's kind of cool that it's a square.
Well, that's more 4:3 television.
Yeah, I don't know if I want it to feel like television. But yeah.
Well, it's not just television, but it's also the original film format was square. So when you look back at like the original films, they were all square.
They were, right? Back in
Yeah.
the old days.
So even the Disney movies, when you go back and you look at the original Pinocchio and everything, it is completely square format. So you watch it on a widescreen TV and you have black bars on the sides. So it is 4:3.
But we're gonna do this aspect, right?
Yeah, something like that. So you could see feels very small outside, which is great. And we've been playing around with like there's some issues with path tracer, in particular with displacements, but you could see how beautiful the shaders look
It looks amazing with Path Tracer.
when we put the path tracer on. When you look at that,
That those cactus look, and the depth of field too is much better.
yeah, let me adjust this. But it breaks the displacements on the floor completely.
It just doesn't work, huh? Or do you think
No.
there's like a switch? Or you already looked into it, didn't you?
I looked into it, but I mean, we've done this enough to know that there's a bunch of stuff that I don't even think is documented well.
Look how pretty that looks, though. You're right about the ground, but the rest
Ground
of it,
totally breaks.
yeah. But the rest of even the colors really pop in path tracing.
Yeah. Well, because you're seeing through the translucency of all the leaves and everything. It just really pops up. Even the Mentos looks better.
The Mentos plant.
I'm gonna fix those. But you can see that all the displacements would break there, but the colors just really become super vibrant with Path Tracer, and it is rendering really fast. Um,
Someone's asking, it looks amazing. May have missed it. What shaders are you using on the cactus? It's just a subsurface scattering, right?
Yeah, so the shader that we're using, but there's a particular shader. So what I'm using for everything in this scene is William Foucher's Easy Mapper. I don't know if it's necessary
For
for
the
this
cactus.
because the great thing about his thing is that it's basically like a layered shader system. But honestly,
It might be too heavy.
no, it's not. It's not. What I like about it is it just has a lot of color correction stuff that I just like. So if I come over here and I go to map A adjustments, I could just come over here and tweak a bunch of different things here. Like if I do that now, I could adjust the albedo tint. I could adjust the saturation, brightness, contrast. It just has everything here. So it could be just a straightforward, just regular shader. But then if you turn on some of the settings up here, it becomes this like crazy badass displacement shader. Right now you can see that the subsurface looks way too strong here, but all of that could just be controlled here. If I were to come over here, I could just plug in like that one. You can see that already looks a little bit better, or that's more subsurfacey.
I kind of, what's interesting is I kind of like, even though it doesn't make sense for it to have like a reddish backscatter, but it looks neat.
Oh yeah, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
And I could dial all of this down or up.
Through the profile. Yeah, we're not using substrate. I don't feel like we really need it.
So you can see we have that. I could just save this. And these eggs definitely have way too much subsurface. I love the way it looks. I guess I should show this here. But same thing. I could just come over here and plug in.
That to it, yeah.
You know, you definitely would want to dial this on a per object basis. Right now, I just have like this global one on everything.
You can say that they look juicy. Yeah.
Yeah, they look juicy.
So what makes it look appealing? I feel like in Lumen, subsurface scattering looks more like it's glowing. Uh, um, it has like a glow, and where it's not quite correct, especially when it's being backlit. So like when I see like the cactus through the path tracer, you really feel like the light is actually scattering through the object, whereas in Lumen, it kind of does like this fake look.
Yeah, you know, it's so worth it that I actually think, like, as much as I love that shader, that displaces and it allows you to do the mixer. Like if you have a shot like this, you don't really need, because the reason why I like it is because you have so much resolution. Like you're like, okay, I have this thing, I could tile it a million times, and now I have infinite resolution. So without a doubt, that's amazing, right? That it's not baked into the UVs. However, if path tracing is the way that we end up going forward on this exterior shots, which I feel like they're definitely amazing, I would just not use that displacement shader, and I would just use some sort of nanite shader, some sort of nanite geometry on that section, and just texture it
Yeah,
correctly.
I like how the characters look in path tracing. I feel they look better. But like when you go to my set and the stuff I showed you guys, it doesn't really make a difference on the environments.
No, it's on the on the exterior stuff. It's like night and day,
Yeah,
but on the interior stuff, it's barely noticeable.
yeah.
But the render hit is astronomical.
Um, and it's just not worth it. So I don't know. But I do like how the characters themselves look with path tracing.
Yeah.
So those are things. Okay.
So it just looks pretty.
Yeah.
You know, and again, this is not really laid out right now, so I'll show you kind of what I've been doing. So the what I'm doing is I'm just kind of,
Look how you jump when you jump back, it just looks so different.
yeah. So right now what I'm doing is I basically have this little world here, and this is like my basically like all my tools that I have to build all this stuff. And as I want to go in and populate this, I'm just pulling stuff from this. This is like my sandbox, you could call it. And I'm just building even these pieces here. You can see everything is modular, so you can place it around. And this is another section, you know, it's just on the side here for some shot. I don't know what it is, but again, you could see resolution, crazy resolution, and all of this is being controlled with the Easy Mapper. So if I click on this, um,
Things have definitely like changed so much from the first project we did, like Voice in the Hollow. We couldn't do displacements. Like, forget about it. We couldn't do a lot of stuff. We started without being able to make trees. Also, I still remember that.
like
And
take a look at that. Isn't that cool?
then now we have like real time displacements, which is just crazy.
So you could see with just a couple of sliders, it's using the different maps the data maps that I generated out of Gaia to control the shader here. So you could see it's all just kind of rock and dirt, not dirt, rock and little pebbles. And then I could start introducing this, completely override it, come back in here. I have a mix slider so I could break it up. I mean, it's crazy amount of control that you have on a shader. And I have multiple, it's 3 layers in total. So I have total control for everything here. So pretty awesome. And what else? So I could show you like how I'm putting this together. So let me just set this back to unlit. So I'm starting everything in Modeler just because I want to familiarize myself with this thing. So I'm kind of forcing myself to learn this thing. There's really not much to it at this point, but I'll just show you. So I'm starting in here, and you can see at this point, it's really blobby, but I can do this in Modeler really quickly. The great thing about it is I have radial symmetry, which of course you have in ZBrush as well. So you can see I could come over here and turn on like the build up, and let's set this to this. And the symmetry, I'm not sure why the symmetry is not working, but it should be working. There, it is working. So it is working. Okay, so you can see it's just painting across all of them. Right, so you could just control how many it repeat, what the repetition is, and then you have all these tools. So I take it to a certain point here, and then I bring it into ZBrush, and I just finish it up. So I'll show you what that is. I could have started it in ZBrush, but again, I'm forcing myself to do it in Modeler. So let me just load this up.
With Mahler, not it still doesn't support like UVs or anything, does it?
No, it's really like just like it's really just to kind of sketch forms. Like the version I have, and I have beta access that has much more alpha control, but it's really just for main forms. And then I bring it in here and then I tighten it up a little bit. I tend to make things look like monsters by default. So uh, I took it up to here. I didn't want to put more detail because I want the cactus to, you know, be able to breathe.
Yeah, but
And
I like all that detail.
yeah, it's cool.
I think it looks really nice.
So took it up to here, and then let
When
me open a painter.
when I see you do that, I get jealous because I'm like, yeah, I've been doing so much marvelous stuff. that the stuff you're doing looks so much funner.
Well, thank God I'm doing something fun because I've been doing like the writing of the script and getting the rig stuff to work has been just the most
Horrible.
stressful freaking thing. So let's open this up. Just give me 1 second. So environments, deserts. I think it's this one here. So let me just set this here. So this is how I textured this thing. So brought it in here. We'll just go through some of the passes. And it's simple. It's nothing fancy, but it's effective is ultimately all I care about. So we have this here, which is just a triplanar. Very simple. It's actually swamp water. So like algae water, which I thought was kind of cool. Like you would not think that.
That's swamp water.
Yeah, it's algae water, like just algae build up on the, I don't know, whatever it is. But it really works. So it felt right away like a cactus.
It does. I didn't know that's what you used.
Yeah, so then what I did is I used the mask editor and using, which one is it? The position map
Uh-huh.
to basically ramp it up on Y. So that's going to give it the coloration change. So let's go back to that. It's going slow because I have a bunch of stuff open. But you can see here, it just gives the top a brighter color. I use the curvature here to pull out the values of these things so that they're brighter. I could probably adjust this a little bit more, but let's just take a look at what that does. So again, nothing fancy. Let's take a quick look. Sorry for the delay. So that gives it more shape. Definitely makes a big difference. And if you don't see it there, you could definitely see it on the base color. Like when I turn that on and off, it really gives it some form. Probably could have blurred this a little bit, but it's fine. So let's take a look at that. This is one that I ended up deleting, but I'll just show it anyway, which is just more shading in the cracks. Let's take a look at this one. So this is just using the metal edge just to pick up all of these highlights here. I could pull this up just to really show. But it started looking a little too contrived when I do that, so I made it very subtle. But again, it's about bringing out the detail in the model. So that, and then here you could see this is using the curvature. Let's just go through this. So using the curvature to get this, it was cool. It was picking up all the points, but it was creating all kinds of other areas that didn't look so good. So I broke that up with black and white spots, and then I used a paint layer to clean up all the areas that don't work well. I blurred everything. Tran showed me how to use anchors, which I forgot because I don't texture all the time. Hence why the layer is called Tran. And then paint was just to pick up little areas that just needed a little bit more love, and that gave us this here. And then the anchor was so that the tips were a brighter red, which looks pretty cool. And lastly, there's this like yellow breakup, kind of just giving some coloration to it. Actually does makes a big difference. You can see it's subtle, yet it's not subtle at all. So there's certain things that probably want to fix. No, that's actually in the texture. Okay, so that's fine. But I like that it looks like imperfect. It looks like when you look at a lot of cactuses up close, you're like, oh, there's this little imperfection here and there. So it worked out. It worked out well. Once I had all of that, I was able to just select all of this stuff, group it, and turn this into a smart material. So convert to smart material. And once I had that, I was able to just really quickly open up, let's say, Cactus B. Let's discard this. Yeah, I'll show you the UVs in a minute. So once I had that smart material, let me just hide this. You could see I could just come over here. So there's nothing on this right now. I could grab my smart material and just throw it on here just to show you. Once the mesh maps are baked, everything is going to work except for the red and the orange tips because there isn't any. But you could see for the most part, like boom, it just all falls into place. I could just get rid of these two, and all the coloring looks pretty good, and it works for the most part. You know, there's things I could fix. I want to try to use this orange and color around the, as Tran calls it, the buttholes of this thing. So color around this stuff here. So I do want to do that. But you could see not relatively, I mean, ridiculously fast way of applying that look to something else. So you could see, come over here and we'll open the egg. Okay. So it's just like a seed that would open and that would be a baby cactus. Same exact thing, just grabbing that layer and throwing it on there. And it all worked. So it's pretty cool. If you use smart materials and you're using your mesh maps correctly, you could make a bunch of things really, really, really fast. And when that all comes together, you get this here where so the big problem is, like I mentioned last week, the path tracer does not work with the displacement. So you can see the floor loses all the really nice detail there, but everything else looks fantastic. And then when I set it to lit, you can see all that displacement detail shows up, which looks amazing, but you lose the beautiful rendering. So we have to figure out what that balance is going to be. There's a bunch of other issues with the displacement. So we were also looking at this tool called Physics Layout. William Foucher was showing this tool, which we thought was really awesome. And it just allows you to like scatter rocks or scatter whatever really quickly, which is something you totally need a lot of on a set like this. And the problem is when we were doing it on this, it's basically you scatter some rocks. I'll show you how it works in a second, and it just bounces on the floor and it lays out in a way that feels very naturalistic. Again, it doesn't work with displacements, so it goes right through the ground, which sucks. So yeah, so we're figuring out what we're gonna do, but there's got to be a workaround. Yeah. So let's see some of the questions here. So question one, are you going to have to render different layers and comp them? Probably not. With Unreal stuff, we try to not do a lot of comp, which always breaks my heart because compositing is my favorite part of the entire process of VFX. So it breaks my heart, but yeah, if we could avoid it, I would want to avoid it. That sucks about the floor. There's got to be a workaround. There's definitely a workaround, so we just got to find what it is.
Yeah, but
You know,
we're
we know what
also,
it is. The workaround is basically just have it baked into the map and just bring in a nanite mesh. The problem is at that point, you have to be much more deliberate in your planning of the floor. Right now, what I like is that we're just like, oh, let's just move the camera around and find another angle. Like, oh, this angle is cool. This angle is cool. And the ground is just going to hold up because it is not resolution uh, dependent since it's all just tiling. So we could just, again, this is not laid out to in any particular, like I just kind of threw things in there. Um, but let's say we find an angle like this and we go, oh, that could look kind of cool. I just create my camera here, start laying this up. Okay, so few things I'm gonna do. Remember, we are actually life size, so he is 6 feet tall, even though we want him to look like he's 6 inches tall. So the problem with that is even if I come into the camera that I just created and I say f-stop of 1, which would give me a more shallow depth of field, and I try to get the focus back over here, and let's go longer lens so that we get an even more shallow depth of field. Something like that. Okay. It's still not pushed enough. So if I grab my film back and I set it to 70 millimeter IMAX, you're going to get an extremely shallow depth of field. So now when I do something like that and I adjust the focus, it's going to look much more miniature. So we're actually filming with the most, intense film back, 70 millimeters, so that we get a crazy shallow depth of field and it feels smaller. So that, let me go to my post process for a second. There's a little bit too much bloom happening, so let me just tone that out. I mean, it's definitely cool, but not that cool. There. So yeah, so you could just see a crazy amount of detail on the ground. So let me show you the physics thing. I definitely recommend you check it out on William Foucher's thing because he's the one who I'm stealing this from. But I'll just show you anyway. It's really cool.
Someone said if it's a mega scan, it's possible to displace in path tracer. I don't know.
Megascans works with Path Tracer.
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense. Like displace.
Megascans don't have displacements.
Yeah.
Wait, so, well, hold on. So Megascans shader or Megascans asset? If it's an asset, it doesn't have a displacement. But remember, Megascans are also the shaders, and all the stuff, all that ground is Megascans.
If it's mega sense possible, displace in path tracer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that means really. I don't know if that means that their shader has to set up a certain way.
So the other thing we're doing, and we have to try to figure, again, this is one of the limitations of using the displacement, but I'll show you this thing. It's really cool. So if we come over here and use the physical layout tool, and again, I cannot stress this enough, go look at William Foucher's video because he's the one that I based this off of. But it's an amazing tool for what we're doing. So if I come over here and I just control the randomized rotation of this stuff here. So I'm putting 360, 360, 360, place with gravity, and I'm going to create 3 instances. So let's just do this guy. Putting like some rock pieces here. So you could see, you could quickly lay stuff out, and I could come over here to scale minimum. So let's do 0.2, 0.8. Okay, so with this, you could see you need to scatter rocks on the floor. You ain't gonna find a faster way of doing it than this. And you could just keep going and going and going and going. Pretty incredible. And once you're done with this, take a look, Tran. You're not looking.
Oh, it looks awesome.
It's pretty cool. And so once you're happy with this, you could just basically select all of this stuff and bake it into an instance mesh. Select all, bake it into. Oh, and it crashes. So that's another reason why I haven't been using it a lot, because it crashes a lot. But it's a crazy powerful tool. So I'll open this back up. So I got to figure out some of the quirks there so it doesn't crash all the time. One of the things that you might have to do is just create like a very simplified scene, do it in there, and then just bring the rocks in there. But again, the problem is, ideally I want to do it on the ground that is all broken up and crazy looking. This is the old tunnel.
You don't have the nana command.
Yeah, I know.
Someone said that command makes it work, but I don't think it does, right?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
That makes nanite work, not
Displacement.
displacements.
Yeah.
So yeah, this command does not actually make it work. It makes nanite work. It doesn't make nanite displacements work, because we have all of that stuff on. So when you look this stuff up, everyone, there's a lot of stuff on nanite with path tracer, but not a lot about nanite displacements with path tracer. And that's the key word here, is the displacement. So let's just do, but yeah, we always turn that thing on. So you can see if I did that here. And we'll do our shadows, enable two-sided geometry, 0. So you can see I just ran that command, and I go to path tracer, look at the floor behind him, this area here.
Yeah, it's still the same.
It's gone. You see, it immediately turns to low res. So the command is there. Here, I'll do it again. It just does not work. It works for the nanite. All of this stuff is nanite, and all of this stuff works great. But that's not the problem. So look at this. When I go back to lit mode, boom. You could also see, look at his feet, how it's touching the ground there. And when I go to path tracer, he's now floating. So it's because that's all the displacement. We'll figure that out. I'm not worried about that. I like everything else about this. I like that we're getting a sense of scale. And we're definitely using the scale to our advantage, because we are able to hide a lot of things that may look crappy. So, yeah.
I like how the outside looks.
Yeah, it's cool, and it's weird,
It's so promising. Like, even without like displacements, whatever, it's, to me, it's like eons past where we were on the last project. Like, the lighting never looked this good. It was so hard to, like, even in Lumen, it looks great. I mean, it looks way better in Path Tracer. Path Tracer wasn't even like an option for us in our
Yeah.
first short that we did.
Look at the floor right here. So you can really see the displacement difference there. Look at that.
Yeah, that floor is much better.
Yeah. But yeah.
Mhm.
You know what a lot of people do is they say use Path Tracer as a guide. So now come over here, look at Path Tracer and be like, oh wow, I need to get this stuff to come out a little bit more, get the subsurface. I don't know
I
if you
don't
could get
think
the subsurface to ever look this good without path tracing.
I don't think you can. I just think that's not like you can use that like as a guide for lighting, but not you can't make change the way materials behave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the big thing is I think who was it that said that they really nailed it? They're like it just looks juicy.
I
Um
think it was it Netbug?
yeah, like these things look like you want to bite into them, which is really cool. So, this one looks really nice.
Which kind of like is kind of important story point. Not well, it is a story point.
Well, they definitely are eating some berries out here.
Yeah, they eat the berries.
So just so the story here is that these little guys want to be they want to be the warriors. They want to be the guys that are cool, and they kind of suck at what they do because well, the main guy has a stutter, so he can't say his incantations because the words don't come out. So he's always sent out to collect berries, which is like the bitch task of this population. They don't want to do that. They're like, I don't want to collect berries. It's like degrading for him. If you want to do karate class and they tell you to take home ed instead because you're not good for karate, you would be so depressed. So it's kind of like that. And so they're out in the field collecting berries, which is what they eat. So that's a big part of the story is that that's their food supply.
It's not as much anymore though, right? They're kind of more just doing it because that's what they do.
Yeah, but that's still the reason. It's not as explicit in the script, but that's still that's why they're out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's all I got. Does anybody have any questions or does anybody want me to go over anything on this stuff?
I am doing super fun time
What are you doing?
making the bed. This bed has more challenges.
Do you want to show that?
Yeah. Let me save. This bed has more challenges because it has to be built a little bit different since um, there's a scene where they interact with the bed, like they push the mattress off the bed, and it means it has to be able to simulate. So the way I have to build it is a little bit different. I actually have to build the whole thing.
Hold on, let me answer this question here. So you can take your displaced ground and scatter objects in Houdini in a similar fashion, then import into Unreal. The problem with this method is you have to bake that displacement into the UVs. That's what we're trying to avoid, right? That's the whole point of why we're using the method that we're using, is because we're getting so low to the ground, and this ground is so gigantic that you would need like 5,000 4K maps in order to texture this thing. But by us doing it this way, we could just increase or decrease the repetition of the ground in real time, and we have infinite resolution essentially. The minute you bake that in, of course we could do that. We could do that in Mixer too. We could do that in anything, but then you're now down, you have to re-UV the ground, which is a high res ground from Gaia, and
Yeah, you lose a lot.
you lose a lot. That's the problem.
Hmm.
Um,
Um, you're like if you're able to tile an 8K texture 20 times, and it only is 8K, That's a lot of like detail.
Yeah. It looks like a Bug's Life. That's good. So we want it to look small. So if that's working, then that's great. I love Bug's Life. I think Bug's Life is the greatest horror film done in animation. If you really think about a Bug's Life, it's a total horror film. It's about it's well, you know what? I don't even want to get into it because we're kind of gonna do an idea kind of inspired by that, but completely live action. But there's a horror film in Bug's Life that people just don't realize. uh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
Well, I mean, if you're seeing what I'm doing,
Daniel Zenny says to clean up my desktop.
yeah, I saw
Daniel
that
Zenny.
comment.
Damn it, Zenny. Daniel Zenny is one of my favorite Gnomon students. Uh, not Gnomon student. He's my friend that was a Gnomon student.
Yeah.
So okay, Little Chocolate Star. So I'm just reading the notes. Let's see.
As you can see, what I'm doing is super exciting. It's a lot of meticulous planning on my part. If I build something that doesn't have
BFF.
to simulate, I'll build a section, a very small section. Like originally, I just made this part, and then I'll replicate it, duplicate it around in Maya, and then have the rest. And the only part that is actually UV'd is just one wedge section. So this is like 4 UDIMs copied over. So I get a lot of like texture resolution, right? Because resolution is like what we're trying to maintain so that it doesn't look gamey or fall apart or look very low. Since this one has to simulate, I have to replicate it all around. And then I also can't cut up my shape. So it's going to take me longer to texture this piece. You don't really want to chop up your pattern into too many pieces if you plan to simulate it. It looks very weird, to say the least. So it's just a bit more work. And, you know, when I see Miguel doing fun cactus, I'm like, hey, I know Miguel's doing stuff that's not fun, but I've been doing this shit for a long time.
Yeah, you've been
I'm so like, on this, which is cool. You know, it's fine. And the main thing is I'm still able to maintain momentum, which is it's very easy to burn out when you're kind of working on the same like type of thing forever. Um, but I don't know. I'm still able to do it somehow
yeah. Um,
because burning out is real.
Burning out is real.
Yeah, it's very real. You can burn out doing this.
I think you're never gonna want to do a cloth after this project.
No, I'm still fine. I just think the other stuff you're doing looks a lot more fun, and I would like to do something more fun for me too. Um, which is why I'm texturing a little bit more because when all I was doing was just making the meshes and then passing on the textures, it was just driving me crazy because most of the work in this is setting this up. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Here I am. All this stuff. Let's sim that. I've now closed this. This is like the pattern for the bed. You can see how it repeats. Um, right now it's really flat, and this is like the underlaying layer. And I'm just trying to make sure everything is sewn. You can see I don't have everything sewn. So then it's going to break apart. It's actually becomes like tricky for me to track it. Okay, I missed this spot over here. And this one. So much marvelous stuff. And it's a big piece. So it's definitely slower to simulate. Okay, I've actually finally closed it. So the parts don't like flap around. The pieces are so big that I would just wait for the save. That when I try to zoom out to see all the parts, I can't. They need to, it stops zooming out. So I have to move them all closer together. Because I need to be able to select everything all at once. But it just stops on me. I like to have the gaps between pieces because it makes it easier to select. Because selection is a little bit difficult sometimes in this program. And it's kind of slow. I'm not sure why. Maybe because I have Unreal on.
It's definitely because Unreal is always the cause of everything that has to do with performance hits.
Yeah, let me just save this.
Some monstrosity.
I think the pattern's kind of cool. I don't know if you look at it. Can you see it?
It's very cool.
Let me freeze this. And then what I want to see, I'm going to layer clone over like this. And I'll put, I'll wait for it to duplicate because it's still processing. It's having a hard time. I'll put the cotton sateen, which is softer. I'll let it inflate like 20 air pressure and make it a little bit larger. And then we'll unfreeze this. And then let it sim. And I'll bring up the resolution. It's going to look very low. It's taking forever to puff up. I think it's just big. Like Marvelous is really made for making clothing like life size to a person. This is like a bed, a really big bed. That it's bigger than the person. So I think it's kind of getting slow because of that. I'll hide the pattern. And I can't bring this up too high if it's going to simulate. I think the highest, I'll bring this to 12 particle distance, which the lower that number is, the more resolution it is. Is layer cloning like extruding in Maya? No, it's actually not. It just like clones another layer of material on top or below it. So it's just like it's a duplicate that sews it together. So if you were to come back and look at the sew, it's super complex now. So every piece is sewn on top, and then it just gives you this look. It also has like this kind of look where there's like these strange kind of gaps, but I've been able to get around it okay. I'm not sure what creates that, but this is kind of the bed. I don't know what you think, Miguel.
I love that bed.
I can't really get it more detailed if it's gonna sim.
I would leave it like that then.
Yeah, it's slow. Oh
The
crap.
bed has to sim because there's gonna be a bunch of dead bodies under the bed.
Yeah. It's not very promising in how well that's gonna sim. I don't know if it all, I'm not really reading the GPU. I think this is like CPU based. And it's still really slow. So I don't know how well that's gonna sim. But it's built for simming. And again, it has to do with how large this is. It's like a very big piece and it's having trouble with it. I don't know. Either way, it has to be lighter. So here our resolution is maybe too high. because this might have to be rigged.
We can totally rig that.
It could also be shot modeled. Do we push it off and I just like sculpt it manually for that shot, which I don't really want to do, but that's how it would be. Let's maybe increase the resolution or decrease it. It's a 10. 10 is not super high. Anyway, I'll just export this. We'll have at least a still thing. So I'll just save it in my directory. I can still texture it though. And I'll start up Maya because I still need to merge all these things.
Hello, I need to introduce myself. Twitch tells me I am an artist. I also work with ZBrush and make sculptures. Hello.
Nice to meet you. Okay, that's done. Let me save this again. And you see a question there.
What is the question?
It's in the chat.
I have no idea. I'm trying to import something in here.
I'll read it out loud.
Your production diary has been a gold mine. Are there classes you would recommend at Gnomon in person or workshops to learn hands-on how to replicate a similar short? There's not necessarily a class, but
Yeah, well, like, yeah, I don't know their specific class because it takes like multiple classes, I think, because you're doing multiple tasks.
yeah,
So, like, if you just want it to be, I don't know, a modeler or something, there's a class for that. But something like this is like maybe, you know, modeling, lighting, some game classes to learn Unreal. If you are interested in learning Unreal, definitely there's some great classes on Unreal and Gnomon.
yeah,
There's also like the workshop too. So you can subscribe to the workshop and it's like a subscription and there's a ton of tutorials on there.
yeah.
And it's not that expensive and it's really great because it's full of some of the instructors do the workshop and they also get like really amazing artists to do the workshops in addition to that. So everyone's like super good.
Yeah. That being said, you're not going to find a better, take those classes for sure. The way you should really look at it is if you really want to know how we did the short, it's all documented in the voice and the hollow breakdown. It's all there because it's the cool thing about that is it's us figuring it out.
Yeah, you'll see
So
us like
yeah,
figuring it out.
we had no idea how to do this. So it's us figuring out how to do it. But then once you see us say, oh, we did it like this, and you don't know how to do that one particular thing, that's where the Gnomon classes, the Gnomon workshop come into play. And now you're like, okay, well, I get it that I did it in Marvelous. Well, how the hell do you do that in Marvelous? And then you could go look at
Yeah, the best resource
DVDs.
is just to look if you want to see how we did a short, it's actually all documented online, like Miguel said. Um, but like for specific knowledge, you could take courses. Again, the workshop is actually really amazing. Um, like information resource on top of that too.
Yeah. So we both went to Gnomon, so we're not selling it because we work there. We both went to Gnomon as students. So
Yeah, Gnomond's cool. It's got like a really nice knit family vibe. Like you can even see sometimes some of the students will chime in and say something.
just want to say that our composer is terrible. No, I'm just kidding. So Dan is sending me text messages saying that we should just talk about how good the music is. So our music is terrible. The composer's even worse.
No, you know what? And this is the truth. I don't know if Dan's listening, but like whenever I actually listen to his stuff and it actually like motivates me.
Trying to listen to the jams music all the time.
I do. It like motivates me. It gives me like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. It really pulls like, of course, music is huge, right? You need sound, um, and any kind of story that you're trying to tell. But it really has like the tone, and it reminds me of what we're making. And sometimes you just need that.
Yeah, you're reminded, like you're like, oh, this is what we're doing. We're doing this or that because you sometimes forget.
Mhm. It's a process. So here's his bed. That's his bed. Okay. Um, I'm just gonna rename this. I think I'll just export it and I'll just throw it. Let me save this scene. I'm gonna throw it into Unreal. It doesn't have any textures, but that's okay. It's not
Uh,
really okay, but I just want to see it. So let me just set the path to export. Um, Zort bed.
okay, let's see.
So what I did here is I just merged together. I will worry about the simulation when it gets to it. I know that it's technically constructed in fewer patterns. I don't think this will simulate well, though, based on how slow it is when I press this button, which means it's only going to be slower once there's actually animation. Um, so I can already see that this could be a problem based on that. But again, I'll worry about it later. Um, which I don't really like worrying about stuff later, but sometimes it's just you deal with it when you get to it, and that's how it goes. I'm gonna save this material. I'm naming this, and then what I'll do is set this material up inside an Unreal. Um, it's gonna read this name that's on this material. And then what will happen is that it will automatically find the material in Unreal. So let me just export this selection. But you guys are seeing a glimpse of what it is that we're doing, and and then the steps that it takes. So I'll build it in Marvelous, give it very good UVs that are very like efficient, and it has good resolution. Come in, I'll merge the parts. If it gets simulated in Marvelous, then I wouldn't merge the pieces. Um, so we'll see. And now I'm going to come in here. And before actually importing it, what I like to do is, again, set up a material. So my material folder, I'll call it Zort bed. It doesn't have any textures, but I'll like just copy some texture pattern over here. And I'll rename this to the actual material. Okay, so I have that here with the wrong textures. And then in here, let's save all. And I have auto save off. I noticed that Miguel has it on. But I've found myself saving stuff I didn't mean to. So it's off. I'm going to drag in the FBX because we can use FBX. I don't think this will take that long because the mesh is actually not super heavy. Let's import all. Yeah, it's all right. Some of the meshes take a long time, like the giant pillars, they're just so dense. Okay, it's just froze. Is the whole cloth environment getting simulated? No. I think we would just, no way. I don't think we could finish it.
Yeah.
Once it's imported in here, what I do is I open the mesh and I turn on use full precision UVs, and I'll save it. It's so that it supports the UDIMs properly. Like their UVs get kind of messed up if you don't have it checked on. It like gets wobbly, and your textures will look strangely wobbly. Okay, then I'll actually convert it to nanite. And I don't have it convert on save or on import. And the reason is it's not saving. Hold on. The reason why I don't is that it just feels slow sometimes. You know, on our previous project, it just felt like we got stuck importing stuff at times. So that's kind of my workaround. And here's the bed. And you can't really tell that the textures are messed up. I'll save this number here. But yeah, this is it.
Let's see.
Not the most exciting, but whatever. I mean, I get excited putting new things in. But anyway, what do you think of the bed?
Honestly, I was busy texturing a cactus, so I wasn't looking. Show me.
It's right here. It's like you can barely see it.
So you do need some kind of light from above.
Yeah. Let's put a spotlight. That's in the center here.
Yeah, like that.
Those textures kind of work in a strange way.
Totally.
I will put custom textures. But like, what is this light? Oops, where'd it go?
Well, like, where's it coming from?
Yeah, is it like a chandelier light?
Yeah.
Is it like just fall off like this?
Mm-hmm.
And is it a warm light? Is that too like a firelight?
That's a little too warm. Like that. Okay, so show the shot.
So I guess we need like a light source at the top. I haven't built any lights.
Can you see it through the camera?
Okay, give me 1 second.
Okay, so this is...
There's a camera here. Let's turn on this letterbox. So that's how it would look. This is the focal length is 43.
That looks like so sacrificial, right?
It doesn't have any pillows.
It totally needs...
It doesn't also have the bed base, but the bed base is actually going to be simple.
Can you... Oh, yeah. Oh, no, we actually need that.
Can you what?
Mid-century Sesame Street. Yes. Dan just asked if we called Cot's bedroom mid-century Sesame Street. Yes, that's the...
Dombrowski? Okay.
Yeah. It does. It looks like a vampire bed. So there is dead bodies under that mattress. So
That's why the bed is so important. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like dead threadlings under there. I guess Miguel will just let it out. That's fine.
Yeah.
So it has to be a certain height. It has to be built a certain way. So the base is going to be like come straight down, so you don't see it. And then the idea is like they push the bed off, and they'll see like a bunch of dead threadlings.
Yeah.
And
so Zord is been compromised.
yeah. So yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what else you think this needs. Give me your opinion. You think its pillows are enough?
It needs pillows. They should be diamond shaped for sure.
Diamond shaped pillows?
Of course.
I mean, diamond shaped pillows won't look the way you think they look. They'll just look like lopsided squares.
That's okay. Ricardo wants to know, where's all the fog?
There's a lot of fog, dude.
There's a lot of fog in this.
There's a lot of fog. Um, you know, I don't use a lot of fog, too much fog here. Sometimes it feels really fake. That's
Is it,
let me see.
Unreal fog?
It's not the
It's
same.
not the best thing.
Yeah.
That's where it needs some love.
It probably looks amazing in the path tracer, but I bet you that kills the render times too.
Oh yeah,
How much fog do you have on yours? Very little, right?
barely any. Well, it's a desert, so there's very little atmosphere or moisture in the air.
Yeah, so like if I were to up this, that's more fog, which just makes the light blow out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not quite the same. So you can see. Yeah, it's not the same. I remember on like our first one, the fog would break all the time. You definitely need it for outside, but not so much in the inside.
Someone is saying, call out to the anteater. It could be a very cool Easter egg. You know what? That would be pretty cool. I wouldn't be opposed to the anteater. The only problem with that is that we don't own the Voice in the Hollow anymore.
Yeah, we don't own it. So
We can't say who we sold it to yet, but
we did sell it.
the Voice in the Hollow belongs to a gigantic film studio, which we're not allowed to say yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about this. I would just put square pillows, to be honest. The diamond, I know it's not going to work. It's going to be a pain in the ass. I would just do squares or round. But square pillows, should it surround the whole thing or just like up right here where his head is?
Just where his head is.
Okay, so he sleeps facing the door.
Sleeps-
So,
yeah.
which is weird, but that's fine.
Well, there's doors everywhere.
Yeah, there's doors everywhere. He sleeps right in the middle. And then what I was thinking of making are like these metal staffs.
Look at that. Ricardo got sold. Yeah, Ricardo, your ass belongs to a studio that has a theme park.
Yeah. Square pillows, some pillars, some rugs, I guess. Although I don't know. I don't think it needs any more red, any more fabric. It has so much fabric. I think I would not put any more rugs, but I would put the staff. So this room is going to stay sparse then.
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay. It doesn't feel sparse. I mean, I don't feel so sparse, but I also don't feel like the hallways feel as sparse either. I feel like it's just missing a few things. But I don't know what you think. Why don't you show what you're working on?
What I'm working on looks really crappy at the moment, so I almost don't want to show it.
You know what it needs? That mesh needs to be smooth. I'm looking at Miguel's screen.
It is smooth.
It is? It feels like very polygonal.
No, I know, but
The geometry is actually smooth.
oh, it's super smooth. I brought it into ZBrush. I gotta mess with it some more.
Okay.
Definitely don't want to show this.
They can see your screen anyway. It's like a little thumbnail.
It's okay. Thumbnail is how
Yeah.
it looks better. It looks better in thumbnail.
Yeah. Well, this is all what I have. I'm going to wrap this room up. I'm going to put pillows and make the staff. I want to put some more metal work. I'm probably going to have to retexture this so that it feels more metallic and it just picks up more light, like these type of surfaces up here. Like these are metallic metal fabrics. And then I know that I need a giant painting of him, but it's going to be a sparse room.
Yeah, inspired by J.P. Morgan. You know, look up J.P. Morgan if you want to see something cool if you don't know much about it. So this is like, you know, one of the biggest bankers at the time. There's almost no photographs of this guy that exists, and the only photograph that does exist of him, or one of the more famous ones, is of him beating up a photographer for trying to take a photo of him with a cane. So he had one of those crazy like noses. I don't know what it's called when the nose gets red and it like gets big.
It's a condition.
It's a condition.
Look how tall Cot is to the bed.
Oh, that's such a cool shot right there.
He's got no facial expression. So
Yeah, he needs expressions. But anyway, he had this condition, so he never wanted to be photographed because he was unsightly. Um, and this
yeah.
one photographer did try to take a photo of him, which is one of the few photos of the guy, and the photo is of him angry as hell hitting him with a cane. So it's pretty amazing if you look it up.
He has that condition on the nose where it gets really red and bumpy.
Yeah.
I don't know what causes that. I think it's genetic. And again, don't listen to me on the facts, but from what I remember, it's also from drinking or something like that. So some problems where you get a really bumpy nose. And it was pretty serious. But I
Yeah.
guess maybe that's why he had all those paintings of him.
Yeah, well, that's the weird thing is we didn't when we went to his place, the only image that existed of him was the one painting we saw in his bedroom, and he looked fine. Like you would never think it. And then you know I came back and I wanted to do more research on like who is this guy that owned this mansion in Manhattan? And when we looked him up to see his photo, you see him hitting a journalist. It's pretty.
It's like the few photos, huh?
Yeah, let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, I'll look it up too. Let's see who looks up faster.
Found it.
Play it. Take the screen.
Here it is. He's literally hitting.
Maximize your screen.
Give me a second.
He's
There he is. He's literally hitting the guy with a cane. You can see the nose thing.
Every
That
rich
cool.
guy has that nose. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But he was awesome. And
But it's interesting psychologically, right? Like in his house, I mean, he's so rich. He has a massive portrait of him. Like I think it's not a big deal, back then
there was no photography.
well, there was photography. He just didn't want the photographs because of his nose, right? Like he
Yeah.
wanted paintings to be made of him that made him look better. And the painting was huge. So don't photograph me, but let me commission a bunch of paintings that are massive of me
Yeah.
where my nose doesn't look like that. But I mean, and I'm going to hang it all over the house. I don't know. I think that's so fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there was photography because I just showed a photo, but what I meant is just that it wasn't as. First of all, apparently photography was one of the things people don't realize is how expensive it was when it first came out. Not that he couldn't afford it, but he preferred an idealized version of himself than the reality.
Yeah. But it's like
But it was also a social thing, right? Like a clout thing.
I don't know what it like if I can totally see like you have that nose and you don't want people to see you. But then normally most people would be like, yeah, let me just avoid this. But I feel like the painting is like, let me correct you and make you remember me as this. Because he knew he was going to be remembered.
That's what, and that is how he's probably remembered more is by that painting.
Yeah,
Well, actually, it's by him hitting the dude. But you know, the funny thing is, had he not tried to hit the guy, that photo would probably have gotten forgotten by now. But the fact that he's like, "Don't take a photo of me," made it such a famous photo.
yeah. And then when you Google him, they're basically paintings, right? Like I'll just drag some of that. It's a really good painting or sketch but they're all paintings.
Yeah, they do it without the nose condition.
Yeah, here's like a close-up of a painting. It's not the full painting.
That's the one that was in the room, wasn't it?
Yeah, the big version. This is really low res, but it was like this or something.
Yeah.
He did have some photographs, but I think he just made sure you couldn't tell. And he must have been like really picky about that stuff. But interesting. Our Zort. You know, hopefully when you look at this room, you go, oh, I kind of see what kind of character this is. And then when you look at Con Mayo, you also see what their personalities are like too.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's it for today.
Yeah, that's it. I'm here trying to make some cactus look better that looks crappy. But hey, that's it. Six Flags bought Voice in the Hollow. Yes, it's Six Flags bought it so you could ride down the Koa slide. Let's see. Every rich guy has that nose. Hey. No, it's Knott's Berry Farm bought it, so they're making a jam out of the anteater. Anteater brain jam is going to be delicious.
It's called Ricardo Jam.
Ricardo jam.
Yeah. You know what? There is a character named Ricardo in Adventure Time. And it's the Ice King's heart. I think his name is Ricardo. And he's a villain.
Every Ricardo's a villain.
He's super evil. So, yeah. Anyway, I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. So if you want to follow our work, you could follow us on Instagram at Half Empty Studios. What else? Yeah, we appreciate everybody coming in. Thank you to Dell and NVIDIA for sponsoring this. And thanks to Gnomon
For making this all
possible and for sponsoring us also and doing this crazy crap that we do. So thanks everybody. We have some Ice King is my favorite love.
Yeah, Ice King's awesome.
Bobby, thank you guys. And that's it. So we'll see you guys. And next week, what do we expect to have done by next week? So I think
the Zort bedroom's going to be done.
Zort's bedroom will be done, and then just really trying to get the exterior stuff out. So we're putting a bunch of peyote in there because I do like the idea that they eat peyote, so the whole time the Threadlings are like totally tripping and they don't even realize it. So
I don't know. I'm going to try to wrap up the room today. So I'll show the progress. I'm going to make the pillows, make whatever thingy. We won't have the painting done. Those are I feel like our details that I'll take care of once we get into the shot. So, and once I know more like what exactly Zort's supposed to look like in the painting, I don't know what should my goals be.
I don't know.
Okay.
Donkey Show is asking, can we see your messages on YouTube? This is the first message that we've seen from you.
Donkey Show?
Yeah, at least today.
Oh, I can see. Yeah. So I don't know if you were writing earlier, but
I couldn't see any earlier.
you got banned for saying stuff.
You got banned. You got banned, Donkey Show.
Yeah.
All right, so see you guys from the cactus fields. Thanks to everybody.
Nice.
And yeah. So next week we'll have more peyote on the ground, and we will have what else, Tran?
This will be done, and I will move on to something else.
I want an earthworm. We need
That's nice.
Little earthworms, and we need little ants.
How big is an ant? An ant is
The size of a turtle to them. Like it would be the size of his hand.
Yeah, it would be, right?
Yeah.
I do need something bigger. You know what's scary? I've been watching videos of wasp, like, or those hornets that like eat the honeybees.
Yeah.
They're massive. Anyway, let's go out.
Yeah. Now
Bye,
we're just
everyone.
dragging.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
waiting for you to end it.
Later, alligators.
Bye.
Bye bye. So let me press this thing.